What's up, everybody? This week I'm joined by Gregg Gregory as we sit down and talk about the game that launched 1,000 clutched pearls, Grand Theft Auto. That and a whole lot more is to come, because maybe, who hasn't wanted to mow down a Hare Krishna conga line in a VW van? Welcome to the show. I mean, who hasn't wanted to mow down a conga line or two, right? You know, it's just the same as mowing down a bus queue, isn't it? Hi, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to episode 4 of season 5, Chinese Democracy. You're right here on the Because Maybe Network. This is the 90's podcast. This is John, joined by Greg. Greg, how are you, man?
Hey, doing good. Good to be back.
So it's gonna be a weird show this week. We're gonna be talking about Grand Theft Auto, the video game that started the violence, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's there were no acts of violence until Grand Theft Auto came out.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's on TV. It must be true. And I know it sounds like we're making light of everything like that, but again, you know, just I remember the Tom Petty tribute that I did. One of the first episodes that we did was the same day that it had the Las Vegas shooting. You know, and like I said in there, and I'm going to say it again, there are many, many people who are smarter than me and more knowledgeable than me who can spend hours and hours talking about that. But my thoughts, for what it's worth, are with everybody who has, you know, been affected the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
of everything
and
going on. I mean,
here's to hoping that we take actual steps to make it better.
I hope so. I hope so too, because
I think we can all agree on that. That you know, if you just kind of come to some, you know, just we can agree that there's a problem and there needs to be something done to fix it. You know, and I'm hoping that we'll get there one day soon. Maybe not today, but you know, just stay optimistic and just hope that we can figure it out one day.
Yeah, so that's the end of the depressing portion of the podcast. I don't want to dwell too much on that, because we are here to entertain and everything like that. So
well, it's relevant though, because we're talking about a very violent video game.
Yeah, it is. And I think, you know, this was the first one that did that, but we'll get into that here in just a few moments. So this weekend, as time we're recording, soccer came back on, football for the folks back home, which I completely agree with. And didn't the American rugby kick off this weekend? Or is that next weekend, as of time of recording?
Preseason started 2 weeks ago. They had the Hall of Fame game, and that's kind of like the fifth preseason game. They do like a Hall of Fame enshrinement. So technically the season started, but it hasn't, because, you know, all preseason games are meaningless. But yeah, it has, but it hasn't. I don't get really excited until week 1 when the games start counting. But yeah, football's back. So
sweet. It is sports season, and you know, over here I had a friend of mine ask me which, because his son wants to play soccer, right? Wants to play football.
Yeah.
And he sent me a message. He said, "Look, I don't know. You know, he wants to get into it. Who does he need to support?" I was thinking Liverpool FC, and I know Luke Ellen is going to have one or two words about saying this, but I said, you can't do them. They're the Dallas Cowboys. He said, oh, well, never mind then. I'll...
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's go-to, like, for that league is usually, Manchester? Isn't that kind of like the go-to?
Yeah, it's Man City these days.
Yeah, that's one's always hear of, and whenever I see a jersey, normally if it's not for, like, Mexico or a South American country, which by the way, I've spent some time down there. Huge sport down there.
Oh yeah,
absolutely massive. And it makes sense too, because it's one of those games, man. If you've got a patch of grass or a field,
you
and a ball and a trash can, boom, you got a game.
I mean,
a couple rocks. I mean, you don't even need that. You know?
The old cliche in Britain is jumpers for goalposts, which is over here would be called sweaters for goalposts, I guess you'd say. You know, I remember we'd always do it. It was always we had a tree as one post, and then all of our backpacks as the other post.
Yeah, we did versions of that with different games, and like we used to make up our own games and stuff when we were kids with different balls and stuff. It was a lot of fun. So
my favorite game was Us. It's the equivalent of horse,
right?
But basically it was an up to 7 best. It was basically a best out of 7, right? Attackers v defenders.
Okay.
If the attackers scored 4 goals, you basically everybody got to kick the ball as hard as they could at the goalkeeper.
Oh.
If the goalkeeper made 4 saves or there was 4 misses, the goalkeeper got to kick the ball at whoever was the arse, basically.
Okay. I think that's triggering memory of a game kind of similar to that. I think it was wall ball.
Oh yeah,
real similar to that, where you like get to line up and they get to throw it at you, and if they miss, you get to throw it at them, and yeah. Those are always interesting. Yeah.
Now, one of the things I've noticed on social media the last couple of days is Tool.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Tool fan.
Right.
I'll be completely honest. Sure. But I guess for people who are interested, why is their new album like a huge deal? I know it's been something like 12 years since they released one or something like that.
It's mostly a time thing, because it's been, I think it was 2006 when they released their last album. So I think it's a lot of it's the anticipation, and then they dropped that single, and it's a very heady, very ambitious single, and I think it turned a lot of casual listeners off. But at the same time, because since they put everything on streaming now, it actually rejuvenated their library, and now their new single is the longest song to ever be on the Billboard Top 100.
Wow, how long is it?
10 minutes and 19 seconds, something like that.
Huh.
So that's kind of cool. I think most of it's just anticipation. I mean, I've been a huge Tool fan since like Opiate, and I found a tape of it when I was too young to be listening. I was probably 10 or 11. It was just really angry and just really, chaotic. But Maynard was like the eye of the storm, the singer. He kind of just. He knew how to guide the emotion of the track to like really say something, but not just be screaming his head off the entire time. So it's just been cool watching them develop over the years. And then there was just so much like, did they break up? What's going on? What's taking so long? And they were teasing stuff about the album like 2 years ago, and then something happened and they restarted it. Like they stopped recording and they redid everything. So yeah, it's just been a lot of anticipation. So I think in August 30th, that's going to be really huge when that comes out.
Do you think what you've listened to so far from it is the anticipation's been worth it, or is it going to be like do you think it might be a bait and switch, or do you hope the anticipation's going to be worth it, I should say?
I mean, I think it's going to be cool no matter what, just because it's Tool. But I mean, I think people are kind of overhyping it. Like they're disappointing themselves because they're not just like sitting back and just waiting for it. They're building it up so big, and then they get it, and they've like already overdone it in their own mind. It's already a failure before they even can really even sink it in.
They a Chinese democracy.
And those that kind of music, it takes time to digest. You can't just decide, oh, that song sucks. Like you got to, especially with Tool, it's multi-layered. There's a lot of stuff going on. You got to really listen to it. So you got to give it some time.
And talking of good music, right? I know you guys have had a lot of stuff going on, but you've also got another project that you've been working on in particular.
Yeah. It's just kind of a collaboration with some other local musicians of all of noteworthy status, I might add. It's a group that was hand put together, handpicked by Rich Kellum of the Moulin Dudes fame. He tapped me and Chris Stewart from Trepid, and this guy Steven Russell that played for Fights / the infamous Jaguar Shark. So it's pretty cool. And then also the Holodecks are steadily doing their thing. And on today, on the airing of this, we can actually go ahead and announce we're going to be back at Celebrity Lounge at El Dorado Casino on a Friday night. We've had so many requests and just demands for this to happen, and we're super excited about it. So definitely would love to see everyone come out to that one. It's super comfortable, great service, big TV screens everywhere. You can see the band and in style. So you definitely come check that out.
And that will be on September 6th?
That's September 27th. That's actually it's a good ways away, but plenty of time to make your plans, get your babysitter, etc. It's gonna be a really, really good one. It's gonna be in downtown Shreveport at El Dorado Casino in the in the lounge area when you walk in. You won't be able to miss it.
Sweet. And I know we talk about this a lot, and I've mentioned it before, but I mean, this is going to be slightly ranty, so I apologize in advance. But I mean, guys, check out. I mean, I know we're talking right now, Northwest Louisiana, the Arklatex area, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida. Bands and stuff like that. But I mean, if you guys are not in any of our area of the world and can't catch us, that's fine. But go out there, support your local music scene. I mean, there are many, many talented musicians out there, talented singers, talented players, some really, really great bands, some really, really good people. No matter what band you have, there's going to be fans out there of it. Even new bands have fans, straight off the bat. So if you guys can't make anything that we've talked about right here, go check your local area out, and I guarantee you'll have some fun. And
yeah, you can, and not only that, but it's a chance to meet other like-minded people. If you go to a show, that's a style that you like, it's like, hey, this is hey, this is really cool ska show that's playing at this bar that I like. Go to that, and you'll see people that, are your kind of people, and, it gives you a chance to kind of build networks and meet new friends and, just enjoy life a little bit more with people that are into what you're into. It's always cool.
I mean, and like I said, the reason I bring this up is not just because, you and I are friends, and, I've got other friends back home who are musicians and stuff like that. But, I mean, I've noticed over the last couple of years that the highly professional stuff in any genre or any form of art, should we say, it's always better looking at the quote-unquote amateurs or semi-pros as opposed to, the manufactured stuff. I mean, you look at sports, acting, books, art, music especially. There's a lot of good local stuff out there, and they'll need your support. So, everything's good to go. So, aside from that rant, guys, if you guys are on social media, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about what's coming up on the network later on in the show. But in the meantime, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, look up Because Maybe Network, or on Twitter _Because Maybe. If you're on YouTube, go to bit.ly/bmnetwork-YouTube, because I still don't have that custom link yet. And guys, if you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Podbean, you know where we are. We're also trying to get on Pandora as of time of recording. I don't know the process for that. I only just found out today that they actually did podcasts. So, I just want to answer one question that I was asked last week as well. Why aren't we on SoundCloud? SoundCloud is a good service for musicians.
Yeah, for like DJs, right?
Musicians and DJs. And they do have a good free podcast posting. Unfortunately, their limitations for the free account that they have are, limited.
Yeah, and there's already money going into production software and other things.
Yeah, and I mean,
better used. Yeah,
and I mean, with all due respect to the other providers out there, I found that Podbean is the best host, and this is not a plug for Podbean or anything like that. But compared the two of them, and SoundCloud just doesn't offer what we need, so we're not going to be on SoundCloud.
I do like Podbean, and I'm not paid by them in any way or been asked to say this, but I'll say this. I like how it integrates with my car. Yeah. I can bring it up on my CarPlay and just listen to Because Maybe whenever I want to.
There you go. And
so
see,
that's kind of tight.
And see, like I said, I'm not a fan of Podbean. I give them money every month to make sure that we can keep the lights on with this thing.
But
so
they do a good job. The app is really easy to use. So if you're going other ways and it works, cool. But if you're looking for something like all-in-one for all your podcast needs, definitely Podbean. That's the way to go.
And I'm also still looking at this I say new, but the newer Google podcasts, because we tried for months and months to get on with Google Play, and they just wouldn't accept our feed. Not in the sense of we were doing anything bad, but they just, for some reason, our feed kept getting rejected. So
that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I have a phone number right now for Google, which is awesome for technical support for it.
Wow.
And they couldn't even fix it. So I'm going to try the new Google Podcasts and hope it's a different thing, and we might be on there soon enough. So, cool. With all the rambling aside, let's get in to why we're all here today, and let's talk about GTA Chicago.
Review Corner for gamers.
All right, so here we go for Grand Theft Auto. Now, before we go in, yes, guys, there isn't a sponsor this week. I know. Basically, those things are supposed to be comedy, and I'm not a great comedy writer, and I think I extinguished my well with those two that I did at the beginning of the season. So it's a law of diminishing returns. So anyway, sorry, here we are. Grand Theft Auto, considered one of the greatest game series in the history of video games. That's a fair statement?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the, overall as a franchise, I definitely think it's one of the most selling of all time.
Oh yeah,
as well.
It's definitely, and which is even weird because this game didn't sell 1 million copies.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was largely unknown. It's kind of a pet project from what I could gather in the beginning.
Oh yeah,
and then it turned into, hey, we might actually have something here because it was really fun.
It was a good game. It was very, very revolutionary for its time.
It was the idea of like having no load screens, everything's there. You just go where it was really one of the first true open world games. I mean, it had some limitations because you were limited by what was going on in the mission or what your job was, etc. But at the same time, you could literally go anywhere and answer any phone and get a mission.
I mean, it was Windows 98. I mean, that wasn't known for its yeah.
Still, it was a really good game, though.
It's a dang good game, and there's a lot of things that went into it, which we'll get here in a minute. So, for those new who don't know, Grand Theft Auto is officially classed as an action adventure game. I mean, I don't think they could have called it anything else because there wasn't such thing as a crime genre back then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. I would call it more of like a simulation type game.
Yeah.
Because the thing that the barrier that it crossed that I think is important to talk about that I don't think any other game had really done up to that point. Because, okay, all the games that had a lot of violence in them, they were all, shrouded in mythology or fantasy.
Yeah.
Or, it was The Legend of Zelda, it was Contra.
It was monsters.
You're fighting aliens on a fictitious planet.
Yeah.
And when you're, these guys are walking around shirtless, shooting lasers
with a cigar hanging up their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like there is some suspension of disbelief on that. But with this, I mean, even though it wasn't like top-notch graphics like today, there was still a sense of realism. Like,
it was human v human.
Yeah, I mean, there was mailboxes and old ladies crossing the street and Hare Krishna Congo lines and it's just great, stuff that you would probably see in real life. So I think that's why there's so many people that are so quick to blame that for a lot of the problems, and it was the first thing that tipped its hat to like actual real life realism. But that's what made it fun to play. So
yeah,
kind of two things going on there.
It was the first non-sports simulator, I should say, that used human v human. It was gritty. It was it was, I don't want to say real life, but I mean
yeah.
It, like you said, it wasn't, the only other type of games were like war games.
Yeah.
That were human v human, and maybe, fighting games. But even the fighting games had fantasy. I mean, look at Street Fighter.
Yeah, exactly. There's the moves and stuff. I mean, yeah, obviously, you can't, just yell something and have fire shoot out of your hands.
Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah, me too. Who hasn't? Although I did eat too much curry one time and successfully performed the yoga fire. So,
Vindaloo.
Yoga flame.
Yes. Yeah. There's that. You can always tell the mark of a good Indian restaurant is when they put the toilet paper in the fridge. That's how you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So was it Billy Connolly who said Johnny Cash wrote a song about curry? He was called Ring of Fire. So, Grand Theft Auto was now. I want the studio that originally developed Grand Theft Auto. Okay, was it's been bought up by Rockstar since then, and it's now called Rockstar Europe or Rockstar East or something like that. But it was DMA Design. At the time, DMA Design's biggest hit was Lemmings.
That was also, in the correct context, depending on how you played it, also a violent game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could cause people to die. I mean, basically, you're ordering them to do it. Therefore, that's murder. Therefore, that's violence. So, I mean, but once again, fake little cartoon dudes.
Yeah.
whatever, but oh wow, that those pixels look like a person.
And guys, if you, right, and if you're interested in our Lemons walkthrough, we actually done it on the Because Maybe Gamer, so you want to go ahead on our YouTube channel, check it out. I do the first 30 levels, and I pull my hair out the entire time because I was doing them at 6 o'clock in the morning, and because I mean, you know as well as I do, it's 6 o'clock in the morning is the best time to do something creative because everybody's asleep and nobody's mowing their yard, which is Louisiana in a nutshell, Yeah. Like, how many times have I been woken up at 7 o'clock in the morning and somebody's mowing the yard?
Yeah, that's why I don't live in apartments anymore, because I used to work nights as a chef, and I would get home at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then 4 hours later when I hit my REM cycle, oh man.
So, the game's available on DOS, Windows 98, like I mentioned, and the original PlayStation.
DOS, as we would say that in America.
DOS.
Did they say DOS? And is that
both are
English
acceptable
thing?
in the UK.
Okay, I wasn't making fun of you. Just
no.
More, we're constantly going to be trying to bridge the gap culturally because I've said it before and I'll say it again. John and I are about the same age, but we grew up in two completely different continents. So therefore, our exposure to popular culture and music and stuff, while there were things that were similar, there was also things that intersected, and the things that didn't. Sometimes I'll have to ask something about. But
it's fascinating. It is fascinating to I mean, I've got an episode planned later on in the season that talks about your typical weekend in the 90s from both sides of the pond. So
nice.
That's going to be something fun that I want to do. It's just,
that's cool.
because I mean, we had our own. If you have Saturday nights went over here, and I could, I could talk for hours about how they go on there. So this game was released in 1997 and 1998, and so less than or around 1 million copies worldwide. It was a bit of an underground sensation, a bit of a cult classic, and believe it or not, its critical rating didn't break 70%. 7 out of 10. It was 67, an aggregate view of all the major video game reviewers at the time put the game at 67.3%.
I think that's actually fair for the time, because even though it's groundbreaking, I think there was some errors in it. There was some stuff that wasn't perfect, and I think they did their best. Especially the biggest thing I think was the camera.
Yeah,
that's probably what took it down the most. Plus, you had some other good stuff that came out right around that time. The Leisure Suit Larry franchise, I believe Leisure Suit Larry 7 came out that year, and they were doing 32-bit color.
Yeah,
and so games were not doing that yet.
No,
so
and even PlayStation had a lot better games going out. They had the Oddworld series coming out around about that time, which I still think to this day is one of my favorite game series.
And the PS2 was right around the corner. It was maybe a year or two away.
I mean, Nintendo, their stuff didn't look too great, so it kind of looked okay going up against, say, Nintendo and Sega Saturn.
If it weren't for the content and the originality of the idea, I think that number would be far lower.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what saves it, because I mean, if you looked at it at from a school standpoint, that's almost an F. The school I went to, F is 66 or below. So
it's a D- game.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of being nice too.
But I mean, the thing is though, right? DMA design based out of Dundee in Scotland. So this is a British-made game for a start, which blew my mind. I didn't realize it was a British game. I thought it was some indie developer in in one of the main cities in the United States.
Yeah, it sounds like a game that would be made in America.
But it was made in Dundee, Scotland.
Wow.
Dundee, oh my word. Give me 6. No, I just there's a British comedian called Frankie Boyle who said, we have to respect everybody's customs when we go to strange places. On the left, you'll see a woman being burned at the stake. And at the right, you'll see Dundee Town Hall. I'm sorry for all my Dundee folks. I'm sure it's better to live than Aberdeen. And if you're in Aberdeen, just replace Aberdeen for Dundee. We'll be good. So the game was originally conceived as a game called Race and Chase. It was basically cops and robbers. Right? Just simple cops and robbers.
Right.
And the idea was, right, they modeled it after Pac-Man. Right? So you had to run over something and then get chased, which kind of explains the overhead view and the blocks. How everything was block shaped.
Yeah.
The game Elite, which I never played, was also cited as an influence as to what it become.
I'm not familiar with that one either. I'll have to look that one up.
I might have to look it up. But as they were testing through, the cops had a glitch, and they try and run you off the road. And so the testers kind of gravitated towards being the robbers and seeing if they could outrun the cops, and see if they could dodge being off the road. Because again, this was a glitch. This wasn't supposed to happen. And more and more testing went through, and in the end, nobody wanted to be the cops. Nobody wanted to try and stop everything, and it was more fun being the robbers. Gary Penn, who's the creative director of DMA, said, and I quote, "The game was cops and robbers, and then evolved fairly quickly. Nobody wants to be the cop. It's more fun to be bad. And then that evolved into Grand Theft Auto." So instead of it being you run over something and get chased by the police, they decided to change it to have missions. So instead of running over something, you do a mission, and then that would get the police to you, and then bang, you've got it. And I mean, at the time, there was a lot of car games coming out.
Yeah.
There was Street Racer,
RC Pro-Am,
Micro Machines.
Yeah, there's that arcade off-road game.
Yeah.
It got ported in Super NES.
How many different Formula 1, NASCAR, Gran Turismo type games?
Need for Speed was starting right around that time too, I believe.
Metal Gear Solid? No? I don't know. But I mean, it's... I think the game Race and Chase wouldn't have even been released, I don't think, because of the saturation of the market of vehicle-based games.
Well, they had, and not only that, but they had something completely original that was like car-based, but it was a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah, I mean...
But you could tell that that's what they were going for, because you have to run over those item blocks, and you can put things in your car, which I might add, you cannot do later on.
No.
That's something that got taken out.
Yeah, they had to
by Grand
rework
Theft Auto 3, I believe.
But DMA carried on working, and like their financier, the production company, because they were the developer, but the Take-Two didn't want any part of it. From what I understand.
Right.
And which is ironic because Take-Two became Rockstar. Oh, let me rephrase that. Take-Two is now the company that we know the company as, right?
Right.
They didn't want to do it, and after several false starts, the game was finally released in 1997. And I mean, they started work on it in 1994, which for a game in that time period was a long time.
Yeah, that definitely was. There was a lot of changes going on. Computer technology was moving really fast, so I'm sure that they had to struggle to keep up with, all the stuff that was changing. And then, obviously there was some setbacks and stuff that, as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned Oddworld earlier. Oddworld, the second installment, Abe's Exodus, was 3 times bigger than the original and took half the time to develop. And the original only took 15 months to develop.
Well, that was Nintendo, too, and they...
No, that was Sony.
Was that Sony?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if it was anyone other than them, like Nintendo or Sega, they obviously know what the hell they're doing. They've been doing it a while, so... And
it was... So, like, a game taking more than a few months to develop at that time. I mean, like, we've joked about it before. Elder Scrolls 6 probably won't be up for another 4 years, 5 years...
Dude, I they were saying 2020, and we've got a trailer and a soundtrack. So I mean,
it's further along than what people think.
I'm hoping next year,
Starfield's got to come out first. They got to release Starfield first.
All I know is it's 2019, and I'm still playing Skyrim.
Oh yes, same here. I was playing it before I came out here to record. While I was waiting for you to get here.
Yeah. What do you think I'm gonna do when I get home?
Yes. Level 34 Wood Elf. Anyway.
Nice.
But, so basically what is Grand Theft Auto? Grand Theft Auto is basically, the plot of the game is, the cities of Vice City, San Andreas, and Liberty City are rampant with crime and corruption. You are a member of many undisclosed syndicates who run errands for the mob bosses, committing violence, murder, assault, destruction, and of course, Grand Theft Auto.
And other stuff too, man. And some of the later ones, it gets even deeper, where you can like run like drug rings and prostitution rings and all kind of
And I think every game series develops right naturally. It gets grander and grander and grander, obviously based on the type of world that it is.
Sure.
And it's really, really weird because, like, okay, soccer games, they've developed deep. Now you have agent negotiations and stuff like that. The 2K games, you have career mode and stuff like that. Even the farming games that are coming out there, like, are going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Goat Simulator.
Yeah, Goat Simulator, man, what a game. I have never played it.
I've watched some of it. I've never played it either, but yeah, I've heard.
I've drawn the line at farm. I'm not going to go any deeper.
Yeah, that seems pretty out there for me.
And the only reason I'll go here. The only reason I played the farming one is because I watched a couple of YouTube videos one day. I was bored of one of my YouTube channels that I follow started playing it. It's like, okay, this is a nice relaxing little, it's a Tom Sink though. It's a Tom Sink. So anyway,
yeah, totally.
So back to Grand Theft Auto, which is the reason why we're all here. This is going to be the episode of distractions, guys. I apologize right now, but the game is set up like a grid, like an overhead view, like we mentioned. It was based off of like Pac-Man, right? But you can only see part of the building that inhabit the world because they cast the shadows correctly, I guess, but they didn't want to put it, you over the top of the building. So, like, they've only got maybe the first 3 floors. Yeah,
there's a little, like, it's a bird's eye view, but there's, like, a little perspective, shift to it. So it's not quite straight up and down. So
it's set up like a proper city. You've got your crosswalks, your sidewalks, regular city street, traffic, Hare Krishna conga lines, right. It's really, really good. It's a third-person view, obviously, and it's the only view that you get. I don't know if this, because I haven't played Grand Theft Auto, the GTA 4, since GTA 4 onwards, right? I played GTA 3, but nothing beyond that. You have to get a specific number of points or cash, which are equated in this, and you only have 5 lives to do it. Now, in the later installments, do you have like an unlimited life system after you get wasted?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a waypoint type thing where you die, you go. Well, a couple things happen. It depends on how you die, or you can either die, as in your health bar goes down all the way down. That happens. You appear at a hospital, leaving a hospital, and they take a portion of your money and send you on your way.
Okay.
But if you get arrested, you end up at the police station. They confiscate all your weapons, and then you pay a fine, which is much higher than the hospital bill.
And so, but you can do that infinitely.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. Even if you run out of money, if you get arrested, they'll just kick you out, and it'll say -0.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And also you can always reload a save, so there's kind of it's basically the same rules as Skyrim.
Okay, because like I said, can you imagine doing Skyrim in 5 lives?
I know people that do. No. To answer your question bluntly, no, not at all. But I hear of people that do like a 1 life run, where if they die, they delete the character and they start over.
I've done that a couple of times.
Dude, that sounds brutal. I don't know if I could do that.
The first one I did, I got to like level 35.
Huh.
And I got killed by a dragon. Fine, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the second one I did, which is why I haven't done another one, I got out of Helgen, I ran to Annis's cabin, raided her basement, got out, went to jump in the falls, mistimed my jump and splatted on the floor.
Oh, okay. So
level 1.
Mud crab or... ice wraith.
Oh, yeah. The missions in this game are delivered by payphones.
Yeah.
You can hijack cars.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, that's totally a thing.
And for the people who don't understand what that means, children, let me explain. Before everybody carried a supercomputer in their pocket, on every street corner there was a telephone that you used to put 25 cents into. And with that, you could call anybody for about 30 seconds. And that's how they managed the game. I think they had beepers too.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was in the later levels or like in the part 2, but yeah, I remember that did become a thing.
Now,
added.
One of the things you can do, there's also like weapons caches all over the cities.
Right.
And committing a crime, any crime, you get a warrant out on you. So you get like what they call the star system.
Yeah, the rating. Yeah.
The higher the warrant, the more cops will try and arrest you, which makes sense. But like if it's just a single star, there's not that many cops that will chase you and they're easy to evade. But once you get up to 4 stars...
Yeah, it's like it gets crazy. And in the later ones, they start sending like military and FBI and CIA, they start sending people that will just take you out in 2 seconds if you stop moving.
So how do you get the cops off your scent? Easy.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple of different ways. They give you one, which is the chop shop.
Yeah.
Where you just basically
pay 100 points and you get your car sprayed into a different color.
And that's kind of a weird one too, because it sort of defies logic. Because like you can literally be a foot away from a cop, pull into a chop shop, and then back out, and they're like, "Oh, where'd he go?
I think that's more for balance purposes, though.
Well, maybe so, but in the new ones, that doesn't work.
Good.
You can't go into a chop shop when a cops can see you.
You've got to ditch the cops first, and then go to the chop shop.
And then now they have like a little grace period where the cops can't see you. There's like a little timer you have to wait out. If they don't find you in that time, and they stop looking for you. The higher your rating is, the longer you have to wait. And the logarithms were set similarly in this game for that. 1 star, 1 out of 5 cops might be like, okay. 2, okay, like 2 out of 5 cops will be like, okay, I'm going to get him. 3, 4 out of 5, and then basically anything above that, every cop will go out of his way to find you.
Yeah, and the same thing in this game. I mean, good lord, it's like a dog pile. I remember playing this one time, and I was going over one of the bridges in the Liberty City map, and this cop, it looked like he just came out of nowhere off the top of one of the bridges and landed on top of my ambulance. I mean, I was trying to distribute medical aid, and no, they wanted the organs in the back, but still,
Hey, do you know if this game is still like buyable or downloadable?
I think it is. I know for a fact that somewhere online you can download a bunch of DOS games. A good place. I'll check after we get done recording. Yeah.
But one place the listeners might want to check, and that I can recommend for that sort of thing, for other games. I don't know if that one's on there, but archive.org.
Yeah.
You definitely recommend that. I found a bunch of like old school Commodore 64, Atari, Mega Drive, Genesis, like all that stuff. So if it might be on there, but I don't know. I just wondered if it was one of those things you could get at like Steam or something.
I don't think you can get it on Steam.
I don't see why, man. It wouldn't be hard to do. You know what I mean?
No, I think it'd be easy to port.
Yeah, I don't know. More also like for my personal edification, but also for the listeners. I just wondered if there was like just a way to get it legitimately without getting a freaking vicious computer LimeWire style virus or whatever.
Right.
Like cripple your computer and turn it into Jello or whatever. So,
hey, it was worth giving your computer the most virus of virus just to get that rare B-side that you never heard of.
Yeah.
Until you realized it was just a Blink-182 song.
Yeah, just like sped up a little bit or something, yeah. Well, we're looking at Steam to see if we got anything on there. It looks like it's on there? Dude, no way. Wow. Okay, so the original Grand Theft Auto is downloadable on Steam. And if you're not familiar with Steam, you can go to steam.com, I believe it is.
Yes.
And download the app if for Windows 10 or the program for Windows 7, whichever you're running. But yeah, how did it say how much it is?
I'm looking. I don't think it's
Is it purchasable?
I don't think so.
What? Why would they show? Wow, that's a tease. They show it to you and you can't even play it? Well, never mind. Huh.
I'm gonna click add to my wish list. Okay. Yeah,
right.
So I think it is available on Steam, or at least it's got some stuff. Let's see.
Oh, you got some good stuff on your wish list there, sir.
Yes. I don't need that one. Anyway.
That's so weird. Well, anyway,
but I
thought it'd be cool, to like play it again. I was watching a bunch of footage and stuff of it. It's definitely cool to see what came of, when you the current Grand Theft Auto. When you look back, it's seeing all the stuff that worked that they kept. It's very interesting.
And I think that's the mark of a good video game too, is the fact that when you do sequels of it, you keep those features in there. I mean, you do,
yeah, you keep what works, and the general premise of the game has never changed.
No, it's you commit crimes because you're part of the underworld.
And now it's more like, it's more sophisticated, where you can like invest in businesses and own your own property, and so they've evolved along with the technology, and I think that's what's made them so dominant as a franchise.
Oh yeah.
I mean, certainly Mario and Sonic and some of the other big names have done that, but no one was giving so much user ability to anyone than them.
And I mean, it's like you said, it's open world to a point. Because of the technology limitations, there are, if you mess up a mission, you've messed it up. You
just got to start over. Yeah.
Yeah, you've screwed the pooch, so to speak. But I mean, that's limited. I mean, remember, this game started developing 25 years ago. 25 years ago, as we mentioned. I mean, I love the Tekken series, right? And I love the Street Fighter series. In terms of gameplay, Tekken is the far better game. Tekken 2. In terms of graphics, Street Fighter 2 is all over it.
Right.
Because those early PlayStation games, they were still trying to figure out the kinks of the PlayStation. So they're all blocky.
Very Polygon-esque. Yeah. Lots of polygons,
and they weren't smooth at all. Now, they did kind of smooth them out for the PlayStation 2, but I mean, that PlayStation 1...
Yeah, it was, looking back on it, it is definitely rough.
I mean, if you were a graphics guy, don't play any PlayStation 1 games. But if you like good games, I mean, okay, right now my son is playing the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane trilogy on his Switch, right? And they redid all the graphics, and, everything looks like it should for a cartoon-type game. But if you look at the original stuff, it's all square and, like you said, polygony, and it just doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's only one playable character in this game, and that's, well, you. It's a single player game, and you don't get to decide anything about your character.
He's affectionately referred to as Tony, because that's what his name was later on, I think in GTA 2 or 3, I believe. And the character changed. It went to Carl in GTA 3, and then I'm trying to remember the name of they went with a Russian guy, Nico in 4, and then in 5 it's that's a whole different thing, because they actually made 3 different central characters that you can control.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty cool, and they each have different skill sets. Like, one's good at flying, one's good at driving, and the other one's good at weapons. So yeah, they really took that and just kind of built on it each time, and they tried to keep the storylines original and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, we call him Tony. That's just kind of his working name.
There you go. So it's Tony. So you get to play Tony, and Tony is just the generic looking character.
He's just supposed to be like a regular New York crime guppy type guy.
And because you spend most of your time either in cars or anything like that, it's. Because I mean, most of these guys are basically like a couple of pixels. It's a head, 2 arms, and the flamethrower.
No, it's not substantial at all, and you can tell that the game was designed to be played mostly in a car. Yeah. Like we said earlier, it was designed intentionally to be a car game. So all of the work, all of the detail is in the cars.
Yeah.
You run a car into something, it crunches up a little bit. You crunch it on this side,
and you'll see it all.
Yeah, it crunched up a little bit on this side. You only hit the corner. Okay, well, just that corner. It really was true to life on that. And they even got that too with, like, if you run people over and stuff, to like splat it out. It's
see them on the pavement bloody. And all on the car. Right, but I mean, it's basically put the enemies and NPCs in this game, because it's modeled on New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles,
right? Respectively, quote unquote. Yeah,
it's basically they use the demographics in all 3 of those cities to kind of populate the cities, so it feels even more authentic that way,
Yeah.
All NPCs are eligible to be assaulted, robbed, or murdered. So that's that's the violence inherent in the system. Basically put, the PDs will hunt you down when you have a warrant, but again, it depends on how big the warrant is, on how difficult it is to elude capture, and the only other characters you meet that have importance are kind of only met in cutscenes, and they're not fully animated, but they're definitely fully voiced. If you guys watched my Monkey Island walkthrough, it's kind of like that, where the voice will come in, and then they'll change their tone of voice, and not necessarily animated, but the picture will change, So, like, if a guy's talking serious for a second, his eyes will be narrow, and then his eyes will widen, and stuff like that.
Right.
So, is the game a difficult game?
I'd say the controls definitely make it challenging.
Yeah.
But it does have a difficulty setting, which, for what it's worth, they don't start it off on normal like most games would. But yeah, I mean, my biggest thing was the camera. Once again,
yeah, the camera did make it difficult.
But you can tell they put a lot of work into it to try to make it so that when you took off quickly in the car, that it would pan away. Yeah. So that you could see what was coming. But if you went around a tight enough curve and there was a building there, boom, you're slamming right into something. You're crashing every 10 seconds.
Yeah, and the cars are difficult to control, I'll give it that.
They kind of are.
Also, I think, if I remember rightly, because it has been a while since I've played this, it's inverted y-axis. So you have to turn left to go right, and I've always hated that about car games.
Yeah, like it's like flying a plane.
Yeah.
Well, like is that the y-axis where up is down, down is up? Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
It's basically if I turn left, the car will turn right.
So like a forklift.
Yeah.
Because forklifts work that way because the wheels are in the back. Yeah.
So do you think this has got like a standard level 4 level difficulty in its hardest point?
That's pretty crazy to start off at hard. I mean, if you think they'd put it at like, normal or average as they have it listed here, right in the middle.
Yeah, I think this game only had one difficulty level, and it was set to what I would consider. Because see, this system right here is my system, right? Because there is 5 stages of a video game.
Okay, I misread that. All right, I got you.
It's so like games are either super easy, super hard, or something in between. I don't think it was super hard,
but out of the box, you would consider it hard.
It'd be harder than average.
I'd agree with that. I mean, it was.
So that's why I give it a level 4 on the hard scale. Yeah. Because it's not average, but it's not super hard either. It's.
That's what she said.
That's right. It's I thought I lost my train of thought again. That's what she said. But
it's harder than your average game.
Yeah,
pound for pound, I would absolutely I would even put it between hard and super hard.
And see, the thing is as well, the reason that was is because it wasn't for kids. It was this kind of game appealed to, at the time, the hardcore gamer.
Right.
So the nerd ballers were all playing their games at level 4 or 5.
Right.
In terms of difficulty. So if a game came on as default as a level 4, it would be just challenging enough to get the semi-casual gamers in there, the guys who were in between hardcore and casual, which is, I guess, like you and I.
Right.
And also, enough to get the nerd ballers in there who, will download mods for games to up the difficulty setting because they find Legendary too easy.
Right.
The soundtrack of this game was very, very specialized. I love what they did with the soundtrack in this game. The PC version of the game offered what they called radio stations.
Yeah, they're working off the concept of a car once again. Yeah.
So you had 7 radio stations to choose from, and the police band. And that...
I always left that on that.
Yeah. And I thought that was great because, But the one thing that they did do, this is the bit that I loved about it, okay? The, say you got in a pickup truck. As you turned the radio on, it would either be 70s rock, country, or hair metal. Right. You pull into a VW hippie van, and it would play 1970s rock and Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. If you pulled into a sports car, it would play, you know what I mean? So it tailored the radio stations to the cars that you jumped in.
Like a stereotypical kind of like just, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, you stole a car, and then you fiddled around in that tape deck for music, and you put something in, and it would be what that person would be listening to.
Right, yeah. And so, they kept that going, too, all the way to the current one. Yeah. That's still a thing now.
I thought, like I said, I thought that was fantastic. I think
It's immersive. It's interactive. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it hooked people. I mean, the gameplay was so. The concept was out of this world, and I think just adding those little touches of detail, like, every time it gets a ding, you see the ding.
Right.
The music tailored to the vehicles.
That's when people realized that they need to start paying more attention to their game development.
Yeah, because
and, making it realistic as they could, and that they could.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why certain films are still talked about, because of the little details and stuff like that. It's the little things that make things authentic and inauthentic, and not just inauthentic, but make you invest more, you know, emotionally. I mean, okay, back in the day when I was a film student, we were watching the first, I think it's 10 minutes of Silence of the Lambs. And it was from the opening, from basically after all the, studio credits and stuff like that, from the very, very first frame of the movie to him saying, "Hello, Clarice," right? I missed you. Yeah. So it was basically how the color blue was the most important thing in the movie up to that point.
Right.
Not the characters, not the story, the color blue.
Right.
And so for those listening, I'll explain it as best I can briefly. As the movie, as that scene or those scenes progress, you've got she's in New York. I can't remember which city it is. It's New York. It's been so long since I've seen.
Me too. I think it's supposed to be modeled after a big city like Toronto, New York, LA, whatever.
So she's in the police gear. The police gear is blue. She goes to the police station. The police station, everybody around her.
So there's like symbolism with the blue, foreshadowing.
Yeah. So you see blue, and you see everybody. All the police, all the all of the normal society.
It's supposed to be cool and calming.
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah. And you feel safe when you see it because everybody who's wearing blue is
a protector. And then as they start talking about Buffalo Bill on the board, it starts getting reds and browns. And the more deeper you get into Buffalo Bill, the reds and the browns. And then when she goes to the prison to see Lecter, it's basically red and brown lit. And she goes down the hallway. She turns, and staring at her is the most evil man on the planet in a blue jumpsuit. So it just kind of wow, yeah, that's cool.
And so it's that little thing right there. You already messed up psychologically because now you thought, well, hang on.
You associate the blue with good, and now the bad guy's wearing blue.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
The baddest of the bad guy is wearing blue.
And so they basically just like lulled you into being secure to blue and then assigned it to someone that's terrible.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a mind.
Yeah,
F
and
right there.
I didn't catch it, and when it was explained to me, it was like, oh my god, yeah, that's totally correct.
That's subtle.
So when video games do stuff like that, I mean, I know we harp on about Skyrim and stuff like that, but I mean, all of the Bethesda games have a rich world. I mean, how much in Skyrim, how much stuff in Skyrim and in Fallout do you pick up that's just useless?
Yeah, just like. I paused the game to do something and I unpause it, and I was kind of looking down near a log, and I noticed that, and this is the vanilla version, mind you could see ants walking down the log. Yeah,
there's ants in like 4 places in the game.
Why do you even need that? But they did it anyway.
But it made you feel a little bit more authentic into it.
I mean, it adds to the experience, totally.
And I think doing that with the music in Grand Theft Auto definitely
made you feel like you're in a car.
Yeah. It made you feel like you were part of the world.
And then on the notes here, I didn't even know this. You could also put an audio CD in your PC.
Yeah. For the kids who are listening again, the cup holder that you've got on your PC is actually a CD-ROM, right?
Right next to where the lock used to be.
Yeah. But no, joking aside. You could put any CD in there, and as long as it was a genuine audio CD.
Yeah, right.
Now that was the difference. It couldn't be like, you burn a CD of all MP3s and you got like 200 tracks on there. No, it had to be an actual...
Yeah, you're talking about data CD, basically.
Data CD, yeah. It had to be an actual audio
CD. Yeah.
So like if you went to the store in 97 and bought...
Dookie or... You could just pop it in there, and every time you got in a car, it would come on. Well, see, that's pretty cool.
And I think that was the first of its kind to do that. Because if you tried it on a lot of other games at the time, as soon as you take the disc out, the game would crash. And I'm talking about PC version now, not...
Yeah, because it's trying to read it still and it can't.
Yeah. So it kind of... It did feed on a lot of memory at the time, and, you know...
Yeah.
But, you know, I think the soundtrack... The soundtrack, the subtlety, the subtle little clips is what made people intrigued to see the next installment.
And it forced other video game companies to take a long, hard look at, you know, the amount of detail they were putting into their things. You know, it raised the bar for the industry, really.
And I don't even think it was done intentionally to raise the bar. I think it was done
out of necessity for it to work, for it to be have that organic kind of feel that it does, for that realistic sort of, for as primitive as it looks now, upon second, you know, in hindsight or whatever. You know, but looking at it fresh at the time, and it was something special.
It was revolutionary. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, but the original reviews were mixed at best.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some problems with it as far as like the controls, and obviously the content is still an issue today, even. You know. And
I think that you know, we mentioned the graphics and the controls were difficult to deal with.
Right.
But again, for the type of game that if this game was released in 1994 or 1995, when Race and Chase was supposed to be out, but it was the same Grand Theft Auto, it would be revolutionary for its time.
Right.
And I think one of its problems was it was caught up in the fact that it was being built for a 1995 market.
In 1998.
In 1997.
1998.
So.
Yeah, depending on where you were, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, I know we bring Skyrim up a lot, but I bought Skyrim in 2013, and my wife bought Tomb Raider in 2013. And you look at Tomb Raider's graphics and Tomb Raider's interface,
yeah,
and that's just in 2 years in modern technology, Tom. So 2 years in this era. You know, I mean, at that time, Sony had worked out their polygon-shaped atrocities.
Right.
You know? And I think it went from the time of being Super Nintendo at Sega Genesis to being N64, Sega Saturn, PlayStation, you know. So that 2-year gap, an age change in the industry.
Yeah, a lot happened, and like technology was moving so quickly too that, you know, computers were getting faster, and people were getting better at designing graphics and rendering graphics and stop animation, and, you know, you could just do a lot more than you could before, you know. I
mean, Toy Story came out like a year or two before this.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
And that was the first fully computer animated movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the hand-drawn cartoon stuff now has got a lot of computer editing in there. But The Lion King that came out the year before was all done by hand.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how quickly technology was changing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the game was obviously controversial when it was released because nobody'd seen anything like it. You know, the worst game that had come out at that point that got everybody talking was Doom.
Yeah, Doom, Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, that whole... But see, well, once again, those were all... Doom was a historical game, for the sake of argument. It was set in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein... Doom was... Sorry, it's Wolfenstein I'm thinking of.
Wolfenstein was in Germany. Doom was set in...
in like a fictional, like, he's in hell, or like some kind of... And then Duke Nukem was set, you know, was in space.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's once again, there's that element of fantasy, the suspension of disbelief.
And this wasn't.
This is like, you know, grandma's walking her dog down the road to get the mail, and she gets run over by a car.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Right. So I mean, that was definitely very, very controversial.
It was considered one of the most violent games of all time when it was released, and I have to keep saying that when it was released. Okay. I'll give you an example. All right. Have you seen the movie Hot Shots Part 2?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. There's a scene in there where it's the big shootout scene where he starts just shooting bad guys, right? No-named henchmen. And on the bottom corner of the screen, there's a body count.
Right, yeah.
And then, like, captions come across the screen like, you know, more bloody than Rambo, more bloody than Terminator, and then, like, you know, like high score or something like that. And that was the joke. It was the most bloodiest movie of all time because it had the highest body count.
Right.
Now, that was obviously a joke and everything like that, but in this day and age, this Grand Theft Auto would be, I guess, the Rambo of its day. You know, it's there have been far more bloody, gory, games out there outside of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, but because it was the first of its kind, you had guys like Max Clifford, who was like the biggest spin doctor in the UK. He actually promoted the game, so and the way he did it was reverse psychology. This is a horrible, horrible game, and if I was you, I wouldn't buy it. Wink. And so he was, that's what he was famous for. And the game was originally banned in the UK.
That's not surprising. And they got banned in a few places. Yeah,
I think it's still banned in Brazil as we speak.
Wouldn't be surprised. I bet it's banned I know it's banned in North Korea.
Well, yeah,
for a fact. But then again, I think all video games are.
Freedom is banned in North Korea.
Yeah, basically.
Even though it only sold 1 million, it was considered a small success, and it was considered a cult hit.
Yeah, it definitely was, because I remember getting it from a buddy that got it off of a friend that sent it to over ICQ or something like that. Like, we were playing like a ported version of it.
It was very, very word of mouth.
Yeah, definitely. It was like a good record from a band you've never heard before. Like if someone came up to you 2 months before Oasis's first album came out, was like, "Hey man, I gotta advance to this band called Oasis. You need to check this out."
Yeah,
that's what it was for us. It was like, whoa.
I think a lot of there's a lot of misgivings about people who would download MP3s back in the day. People think that they would download entire albums and catalogs of people over 56K. You couldn't do that.
No, it'd take a month to do that. They'd still be downloading right now.
So what most people were doing was they were sampling, for lack of a better term. And then if they liked this track, they'd buy the album. If they didn't like this track,
or they would just get that song, and then they decide they like it, they would purchase it or purchase the rest of the album. Yeah.
And I mean, look, 75% of people who pirated music in the 90s and early 2000s
were the biggest buyers of music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I downloaded illegally the Oasis album "Heathen Chemistry," which came out in 2002. Because, I wanted to hear it. And then when I got the money, I went to my local record store and I picked up the album.
Yeah, it's having the physical. I definitely know people our age, we love having the physical.
And the physical copy is literally 10 feet away from me right now.
And if you ever need to rip it to a new device or put it in your car, there it is. So there's a lot of advantages of that.
So, it's yeah, that's but I mean, word of mouth. That's when word of mouth changed, I think, when people started sharing stuff over the internet.
Right.
But I mean, it did help this game become the cult classic that it was. Because remember, anytime, the easiest way for any media to earn a ton of money or a ton of notoriety is to ban it.
Right.
I mean, A Clockwork Orange is a violent film.
It is.
It is. I don't think it's what's the best way to say this? The way it's shot and everything like that, I think it's more designed for filmies. You got foodies, techies.
It's heady. It's just like the new Tool single. It's very heady.
Yeah, and I don't think it's designed for anybody other than movie lovers.
Yeah, it's for critical analysis, for movie buffs, cinephiles, the type. Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for. It's art. Not necessarily made for entire public consumption. I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was banned after 2 weeks and only re-released in the UK after Stanley Kubrick's death. And that was on Kubrick's orders, right?
Right.
And it had been built up and built up and built up as this thing. And then I watched it. And it's a damn good movie. It's a violent movie. But it shouldn't have been banned. I don't think it was. Watching it in like early 2000s wasn't bannable.
Yeah. No.
It's the same thing with Texas Chainsaw.
Sure.
Because that was banned in the UK as well.
Huh.
So So by banning something, it increases the intrigue around it.
It just makes it sexier, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why Grand Theft Auto at least took off in Europe as much as it did.
Right.
Was because, this is the game that was banned in the UK. Yeah. So I think, personally, this is... I think the critics got it close to being right. I think this is a 7 out of 10 game. Not because... It's definitely a foundation game, as I call it. It laid the foundation for stuff that's still in the franchise today.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't necessarily...
It had its own issues.
I think it was made kind of like a modern movie in the sense that they made it open. They left things open for a sequel. This is definitely a beta release of GTA 2, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And I don't think it's aged well. No. The open world... expanded in future installments, but that was technological limitations. The controls are a little funky, and with the life system and the difficulty level that it is, I mean, you end up playing the same parts over and over and over.
Well, also too, the a lot of the missions are very redundant.
Yeah,
they're similar. It's like you'll say, "Hey, grab this taxi and meet me here, and then take me here."
Basically, it's a game of radiant quests.
Yeah, basically. So instead of meeting at this bank, you're meeting at this bank. Instead of being this guy, it's this guy.
Yeah.
Instead of going here, you go here. So it's different, but it's still basically the same. So yeah, there's a little bit of that.
So out of 10, what would you give it?
I think 7's good. I would say 6, but it was just so damn groundbreaking, in hindsight, and just so, different and detailed, and it did have some issues, but overall, yeah, I think 7 out of 10 is fair.
I think the subtleties is what pushed it over the edge.
Yeah, the attention to detail, especially on the vehicles.
Yeah,
that's what really caught my attention, and when you would run into things or hit people, it was just very realistic.
Yeah, unlike, say, Farming Simulator these days, where you could smash into a building and your tractor's fine. So,
yeah.
So Grand Theft Auto, it spawned 3 different universes. They had the 2D universe, the 3D universe, and the HD universe. GTA, GTA 2, GTA London.
I've never played that one. I've watched some clips from it. It looks cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's I don't want to sound xenophobic, but I've noticed a lot of American players playing it. For the first few hours, they struggled with the fact that they're driving on the correct side of the road in the UK.
Right.
In America, you drive on the right-hand side. In Britain, the correct side.
Yeah.
Then you had the 3D games, which is Liberty City, GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and the Story series.
Yeah, Liberty City Stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
The Rise of... what was his name?
Yeah. Okay.
The Rise of Tony or something like that.
Oh, the Ballad of Gay Tony.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you've got, obviously, the HD series, which is Lost and Damned, the Chinatown Wars, GTA 4, GTA 5, GTA Online. It has now become, in terms of how much it's sold, the biggest game franchise in the history of video games.
Yeah, bar none. I think the only single franchise that's outsold them is Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I think Mario, and I think it's not by much either. It's by 10 or 12 million units, which sounds like a lot, but
in video game terms, it's
yeah,
not that
but
much.
I mean, if you sold 1 billion copies and then another person sold 1,012,500,000, yeah, that's very close actually. So yeah.
But the thing about these games is kind of like the Final Fantasy series, right? In the sense that not only is the franchise huge based on numbers sold, but all the main installments, GTA 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the Vice City and San Andreas games especially, they were all 8 out of 10 or higher.
Oh yeah, they were all
acclaimed.
outstanding. The most critically acclaimed on that list was probably, in this order, GTA Vice City, then San Andreas, and then probably GTA 5. GTA 4 is considered to be kind of the ugly duckling of the series. I really don't understand why, because I thought it was a good game. I liked how they tried to take a perspective from someone who was struggling, that was trying to adjust to America and learn the ways and the language. So I don't understand why I got so much crap, but as far as gameplay, obviously GTA 5 is going to be the best. It's the newest, so.
Well, GTA 4 is considered one of, like you said, is considered the ugly duckling of the series, but it's the most mediocre Grand Theft Auto game, but it's still one of the best games in the history of video games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, that's the strength of the series.
Bar none, yeah, man.
I think I mentioned last week that GTA 5 got a Japanese video game magazine. Like it was rated the second greatest video game in the history of video games. And for that magazine, it's like, 2 thumbs up from Roger Ebert or something like that. It's the Japanese publication. Yeah. And Japanese video game editors are hard to please. I think the first
Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I think the first American game to score higher than a 9 was, once again, our favorite,
Skyrim.
Yeah. It was the first, but then GTA 5 scored a 9.5 or 9 3/4.
It's a very good game. There's very few errors and very few glitches in it. I know I've played the game for hundreds and hundreds of hours. Yeah, take notes, Bethesda.
Now there's also been, because of the type of game that it is, it's gotten the wrath of family groups all across the world. The Wholesome Family and stuff like that. And I can understand that, but there's been lawsuits against the developers of the game. Okay, fair enough. I understand that. That's fair. I don't agree with it.
Well, you say you're gonna put a lawsuit against Rambo now?
I mean, you're right. But I get why if you're gonna sue someone, that's where you go out. What I don't agree with is the fact that they were suing stuff like UPS and Walmart and GameStop.
Even though, I mean, if you're suing it because of the content and your kid got a hold of it, that's your fault.
Yeah.
That's not the developer's fault. That's your fault because you ultimately are in charge of what your kids view and put in their body. Period.
Well, see, here's the thing, right? I saw a meme the other day. It was, how can we stop kids playing violent video games? And a human, somebody put arms, legs, and eyes on the mature label. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" No, we need something different. And it's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's simple. How do I stop my kids from playing this game? Follow the rules.
Right.
There are games I won't let my kids play.
Exactly.
I wouldn't play Fall. I don't play Fallout in front of my kids. That's why I haven't played it much.
That's like sitting my 8-year-old son down, letting him listen to The Chronic by Dr. Dre, and then suing Dr. Dre for teaching him cuss words. That's literally the same thing,
It's like, suing the cigarette companies after. Anyway, I can go on all day about that.
We can just keep doing that all day, but yeah, I think we get it.
So, but again, Grand Theft Auto, it was a rough start, but
a meteoric, catastrophic rise to legendary status that will never be forgotten.
Yeah, definitely. So we will be back here in a few moments where we're going to go ahead and talk about one or two more things. And so that's Grand Theft Auto. I will definitely look up the Steam thing, and I will put something on our social media pages after we're out. Okay?
Right.
Okay, guys, we got a couple more things before we get on. Right before we go ahead and clock out, I just want to remind everybody that this week on our YouTube channel, I begin the walkthrough of Super Mario World. Episodes 1 and 2 will be released this upcoming Tuesday and Thursday. Basically, we tackle Yoshi's Island and the first half of Donut Plains. If you were a fan of Mario and the Mario series, you don't want to miss that, especially if you like my brand of boring humor. So that's what's coming up. That's what's coming up the next week on the network, as well as our usual sample episodes of this episode, and then Saturday we will be dumping this episode on our YouTube channel, and then we will be next week with the podcast. I'll get to that here in a minute, but Greg, man, it's been awesome having you on.
Absolutely.
You're going to be off for a little while, but we're going to have you back when we talk about an REM album, New Adventures in Hi-Fi. That's one of my favorite REM albums, and they did a really good job. And it's the fact that it was unusually recorded is why I want to get your perspective on it, being a fellow engineer.
Sure.
So
I'll have to listen to that again.
It's a damn good album. Even the song "Leave" is 7 minutes, and it's got like this weird guitar effect in it, but it's a damn good song. Like we mentioned earlier, guys, if you want to check the description, you can check Reverb Nation for Beta 47, and as we mentioned, the Holodecks will be playing Celebrity Lounge on September 27th, 2019, and entry for that is...
I'm not sure. I think it's either going to be 5 or 10. Not sure on that one.
And also, it is a 21 and up show based on the location that it is in. You know, you don't want to take youngins to a casino. But guys, if you want to go, trust me, it is a damn good show, and you will have fun, and you'll get your nostalgia bone tickled pink. So like I said, check out theholodecks.com, and again, I'll put all that links in the description. If you're watching the YouTube version of the show, I'll put that across the screen at the end of the podcast. So during the credit sequence and everything like that, you'll see everything there. So next week, I will be finally joined by my old lady. She will be joining me. My wonderful wife is going to be joining me as we talk about Dookie by Green Day. She specifically requested this. So
great album.
It is a damn good album.
It's one of the albums that got me playing the guitar, actually. So, and
doing my research, in spite of its childish name, it is actually a very, very deep album.
It is.
Surprisingly. I mean, I've listened to it several times, and now I know what some of the songs are about.
There's a lot of themes about like growing up and like growing apart from people that were a part of your life, and you know, just generally being off and just going through all the struggles that, you know, late teens, early 20s go through when trying to find themselves and become an adult and all that. Yeah, it's a damn good album.
And I think at the time Billie Joe Armstrong was having an embryonic alcohol problem, which kind of fed into a lot of the stuff that was going on in here.
Yeah.
But you know, so that album produced some of the classics like Longview, Wanna Come Around, Basket Case, Welcome to Paradise.
Yeah, there was 4 legit top 10 singles on that one. Yeah, it's a huge album. And
I'll be honest, you know, When I Come Around is my favorite Green Day song. It's a dang good song. Everybody goes with Basket Case, but for me, it's When I Come Around. That was my ringtone for a long time back home on one of those old Nokia 8500 phones.
Yep.
With the, you know, so I mean, and you got to understand, I'm a big Oasis fan. Bigger Oasis fan than I am a Green Day fan, but it was a Green Day song as my ringtone. That's how much I love that song. Mm-hmm. So guys, if you are on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, look at Because Maybe Network, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. You can find us on YouTube, I should say, by going to bit.ly/bmnetwork-YouTube. And again, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and I hope by the time you listen to this, we will be on Pandora. So that is it. We will see you next time, and hope everybody does well. Hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you soon.
See you.